listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. As you just heard, Groove Together, the theme to this year's TD Winnipeg International Jazz Festival. 10 days of music featuring local, national, and international musicians in ticketed and free events right in the heart of the city. To give us an overview, I'm joined by Jazz Winnipeg Artistic Programs Director Zachary Rushing. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Well, great to have you here. The TD Winnipeg International Jazz Festival, one day away. It all begins tomorrow. How are you feeling about everything, Zachary?
Like Christmas Eve.
That kind of excitement,
yeah,
eh?
absolutely. Yeah, you're the butterflies in the stomach.
Well, as always, there is so much to look forward to, and it is tough to know where to start. So let's begin with the ticketed shows, the first of which is tomorrow at the Royal Manitoba Theatre Centre John Hirsch main stage. Keon Harold coming to town, right?
Very exciting. Yes.
Tell us more.
Sure. Keon Harold is an amazing jazz trumpeter. He's been described by Wynton Marsalis as the future of jazz trumpet, but also an artist who lives with his other foot in the hip-hop world. He has recorded with Jay-Z, Beyonce, D'Angelo, Mac Miller, and all of the greats of hip-hop. He's bringing us a special main stage presentation called Jazz and the Birth of Hip Hop to celebrate the fact that this is the 50th anniversary year of hip hop. It was created in 1973. And he's bringing some really special guests with him to give us a show that is both parts jazz and contemporary music.
Like you say, just a phenomenal player and this in-demand crossover musician who really also came up with a past Winnipeg Jazz Fest performer, Common, as well. I've done a lot of playing with him. Can you talk more about that intersection between jazz and hip-hop?
Sure, yeah. It's sort of a weird one, maybe, but hip-hop and jazz are the most similar at the roots of where they come from. They are both Black American musics that grow out of protest a lot of times. But additionally, like hip-hop and jazz have musically married over the years. Obviously, there's a lot of overlap between those two genres these days. And I think that they both lend each other exciting directions to go.
And yeah, that's just going to be on full display to kick off the Jazz Fest tomorrow, which I think is also indicative of the fact that the TD Winnipeg International Jazz Fest is not just jazz. It is a whole celebration of music, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, we do focus on jazz and we program as much jazz as we possibly can, but we also do look at jazz as an umbrella term for sure, absolutely, and represent a whole host of styles of music during the festival.
So not to put you on the spot here, but I'm really going to test your memory in terms of programming. Okay. Tomorrow's show happening at the Royal MTC John Hirsch main stage. Can you tease a few of the other shows happening at MTC and the MTC warehouse?
100%, all four of them. So we've got Keon Harold tomorrow on June 14th. On June 15th, we have two up-and-coming Canadian pop stars, Rev and Preston Pablo. They were both darlings at the Junos this year. They've been nonstop on Canadian pop radio for the past 2 years. You've heard them a lot. That should be a fun show. We followed that up at the Warehouse with Emmett Cohen Trio, who has been to Winnipeg before. He is sort of the cool kid of jazz at the moment, an incredible pianist and band leader. He was here just before the pandemic and literally days, like March 8 or something of that terrible year. And so we're excited to invite him back in a capacity where more people will be able to attend that show.
Ain't that the truth?
And we wrap things up on June 20th with the legendary Sun Ra Orchestra, actually, which is a sold-out show. And we can't wait to welcome this legacy group to Winnipeg.
Very, very exciting indeed. So this weekend, the first weekend of Jazz Fest, a couple big shows happening at the Burton Cummings Theatre, including a performance by this year's special guest. Tell us who's coming to town, Zachary.
Yeah, we're very excited to welcome Angelique Kidjo to Winnipeg this year. For those who are unfamiliar, Angelique Kidjo is probably the most celebrated African artist of all time. Or certainly during our lifetime. I have described her to people who are unaware of her as the Elvis of Africa. And her music is full of joy and life and celebration. She's coming off a very celebratory year of touring and performing, and we're beyond thrilled to be able to welcome her to the Burton Cummings Theatre.
Just a little bit more context for listeners. 5-time Grammy Award winner, dubbed Africa's Premier Diva by Time in 2007. The same publication called her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. It is a big deal to have her here in Winnipeg. So uplifting and just such a wickedly talented singer, too.
Oh, absolutely. I have quite a few friends who are West African who live here in Winnipeg, And but one of them was like completely flabbergasted, couldn't talk when we told her Angelique was coming, and the other one said, "Can't tell my mom because she's just gonna cry."
Again, such a big deal. That coming up this weekend on Saturday. Then things continue on Sunday, right?
Yes.
A celebrated group coming back to town.
Yeah, we're excited to welcome Postmodern Jukebox, back to Winnipeg. I think this is their third time here at the Burton Cummings Theatre. It's a really fun variety sort of show. It's a big band, lots of singers, different instrumentalists, perhaps a dancer or two might be in appearance. And they do jazzy covers of all of your favorite pop songs. They were an internet sensation who blew up because Neil Gaiman found them online and sort of started their career, kicked them off, and they've just become a worldwide sensation.
Yeah, and they bring the party.
Absolutely.
They really do. There are a lot of events going on. I am amazed, Zachary, that you are keeping these all straight in your head. It is a remarkable skill you have there. People really do need to follow along in terms of the daily concert schedule that is up on Winnipeg Jazz Winnipeg's website. Tough to go through everything because there is so much happening, including events at the Dave Barber Cinematheque, the West End Cultural Center, Pyramid Cabaret, and Fort Garry Hotel Club Room. And I do want to talk about a couple shows that are going on there because they certainly piqued my interest. A couple cover nights, Vox Populi playing Stevie Wonder's Intervisions, and then Apollo Suns performing Dark Side of the Moon on Sunday. Tall orders, but a couple of bands that are certainly up to the task, eh?
Oh, absolutely. We're really excited about this series. When we decided to sort of focus on the 50th anniversary of hip-hop this year with the Keon Harold Main Stage Show, we took a look at what other music was happening in 1973. And so we've invited, 4 local bands to cover entire records that came out that year in modern jazz stylings. And so the two you mentioned and 2 others, they're dinner and a show style seatings or cocktail seatings later in the evening. And we're incredibly excited to see what sort of creative output comes from inviting bands to tackle something like a whole record.
Yeah, Ego Spank also playing. So are Aaron Propp and Larry Roy. So there are some incredibly talented musicians playing some incredibly challenging and wonderful music. So it is going to be something to check out. Again, those taking place at the Fort Garry Hotel Club Room. Now, the one thing that we haven't yet talked about, one of my favorite parts of Jazz Fest, and I'm sure many listeners as well, the outdoor music happening at the Cube, Old Market Square. Always a highlight of the summer music scene. Plenty of variety as always, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our party we throw at Old Market Square is essentially the kickoff to summer. That's the way
really
I see it in my eyes.
The same way, yeah. No.
Yeah, we have 2 full weekends of programming. We're there Wednesday to Sunday this week, actually, which feels crazy to say.
Yeah, I know. It's coming up tomorrow.
Wednesday to Saturday next week as well, and that's a very diverse array of talent and types of music. There's jazz, there's jazz-adjacent musics, there's local, there's international artists. So it's definitely worth checking out the lineup.
Now, I know you sort of have a vested interest in this, and it's maybe like picking a favorite kid, but is there anyone in particular that you're looking forward to seeing at Old Market Square?
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe 2 shows in particular. I'm excited to see the Mary Anchetta Quartet. They're coming out from Vancouver. They're a jazz quartet that plays really funky, danceable music. It's jazz with a dance focus. And then also I'm excited to see our festival closer this year, Ariel Posen, a Winnipeg staple, one of the best guitar players in the world, and is closing out the festival on June 24th.
Yeah, both of those performers coming up on June 24th. So lots to look forward to as always. Now, if people are looking for tickets, festival passes, which are still available as well, I would imagine, where should they go?
JazzWinnipeg.com.
It couldn't be easier. JazzWinnipeg.com to take in a whole bunch of jazz and plenty other music. A party going on in downtown Winnipeg. Zachary, thank you for taking the time for coming by the studio this morning.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
We're going to end this conversation with a little bit of Angelique Kidjo.